You see it too. Your Power App works. Until it doesn't. No error, just silence. Most Power Apps are fragile because you copy-paste formulas, build without environments, and hide dependencies where no one will ever find them. They told you low code means safe. It doesn't. It means faster failure if you don't control the access paths. Here's what actually happens. We'll expose the fracture points, then we'll refactor the core with components, solution ALM, and real tests with monitoring. And there's one pattern that stops the bleed. It shows up in section 3. You already know why that matters. The anatomy of fragility, how your app actually fails. Look at your formulas, not the pretty screen, the text, the mess. You copy a snippet from screen 1, onSelect to screen 3 onSelect. Then you tweak a filter. A variable name changes. The payload diverges. Now you've got two truths, both wrong in different ways. Duplicated logic breeds drift. Drift breeds ghosts. You're hunting bugs without a map. And because there's no real environment boundary, dev bleeds into prod. You press play in studio and believe that's testing it. It isn't. A single schema tweak at noon becomes a production outage at 12:01. No rollback path, no version solution, just a quiet failure users can't describe. It spins. They're right, it spins because you merged making and running into the same surface. Hidden dependencies, the silent killers. Collections you fill once on app, on start, never refresh, and assume are truth. Invisible globals like set user role that decide access but live nowhere, documented. Shadow connectors authenticated under your account, not the app's identity. You think you're calling Dataverse. You're calling yourself. When your token expires, the app dies. Users blame the button blames you. Token thinking, you validate it works with a single happy path click. The token is green today, so you ship. Then a column is renamed from status to state, or a lookup becomes polymorphic. Delegation shifts, the blue dot lied to you. 1,000 records become 501. The last one vanishes, no alert, just missing data. That's not a bug. That's a fractured identity drift. You share the app with a link, you add one user directly, then a group, then another link. Permissions become patches, not roles. Someone can see everything they shouldn't. Someone else sees nothing and opens a ticket. You fix it by adding more people. You're widening the blast radius. The audit trail is a rumor. The truth is chaos. Dataverse meets SharePoint. Look up hell. You store choices in SharePoint for speed, then you join to Dataverse tables in the app. Delegation breaks on the join. The formula still returns something, enough to fool your eyes. Meanwhile, the filter flips client-side and costs seconds per interaction. Multiply by users, multiply by clicks. That's your latency budget burned on a guess. Delegation traps hide in friendly shapes. Search starts with in. They look harmless. Until data grows. Then you're paging a gallery by scrolling, not by design. You tell yourself it's fine for now. That phrase is the root cause in every postmortem you'll write. You patch symptoms, you add if eyes blank VRX, default Y VRX in 3 more places, you wrap everything in coalesce, you set another global. You feel safer. You're not. You created more branches to drift, more state to forget, more outcomes to test, but you won't because there's no harness, no specs, no health model, just hope. The dependency graph exists whether you admit it or not. Screen, control, formula, data, permission. Right now it lives only in your head, and your head changes jobs. The app doesn't. It stays behind, brittle, loyal to outdated assumptions. New makers open it and inherit your ghosts. They add new ones. That's how a 2-week app becomes a 2-year liability. Failure rehearses quietly. You won't notice at first. Connector throttling returns 429 for a minute. Your code retries never. Users hit submit twice. Duplicate rows. Finance asks why totals don't match. You blame Dataverse, it blames your formula. Both are right because you never defined red, yellow, green for the critical user paths. No thresholds, no alerts, just vibes. And then the schema rename. It's always the schema rename. The table moves. The column type shifts from text to choice. Your patch payload keeps sending text. PowerFX coerces until it can't. One screen errors, another swallows it. The app mostly works. That word, mostly, that's the lie. You think this is about features. It isn't. It's about control, scope, contracts, boundaries. Without them, every fix invites a new failure. That's the pattern. You feel it. But here's where it gets interesting. You can localize the blast. You can constrain drift. You can stop the silent state from leaking across screens. And you do it by pulling truth closer, naming it once, and refusing global side effects. You don't need a rewrite. You need a guardrail. Local first, then structure, then environments, then proof under stress. You patch symptoms. Therefore, the chaos grows. You already knew that. Now we cut the access paths. In forensics, tracing the access paths and failure modes, now we trace the access paths quietly, methodically. Start with the map, not your memory, a list, submit, approve, report, 3 flows, name them, then list every table, connector, and role they touch. Issues, approvals, users, attachments, Dataverse, SharePoint, Outlook, a custom connector you forgot you own. Roles, maker, user, approver, admin, who actually has what? Write it. Don't trust the share pane. It lies through omission. Surface the invisible. Enumerate variables. Every set, every update context, every collect, every with local. Export a screen-by-screen inventory. App on start, screen on visible, controlled on select. Where is state created? Where is it mutated? Collections that cache tables. Variables that toggle UI and permissions in the same breath. component properties that pass data one way and secrets the other. You need to see the shadow state, the truth behind the formula bar. Diff the formulas. You think screen 1 and screen 3 share the same filter? Prove it. Extract the text. Normalize whitespace, hash each formula. Equal hashes mean one truth. Mismatched hashes mean drift. Now group by intent, load issues, build patch payload, compute can edit, find duplicates, find variants, keep one, mark the rest for refactor. You can't fix what you can't find. You can't find what you don't name. Build the dependency graph. Screen, control, formula, data, permission. Draw edges, control gallery issues. Items depends on issues table with a filter using var_user. Var_user depends on Office 365 users. My profile v2, that depends on a connector scope to you. Permission for patch calls a flow. The flow's connection reference points to a service principal or not. Now you see it, not an app, a web of trust assumptions. Any one of them can snap. Rehearse failure, intentionally, rename a column in a test clone. Status, state, watch the blast radius, throttle a connector to 429 for 60 seconds. Do users double submit? Do you dedupe or do you pray? Break auth on one connection reference. Does the app fail loud with a banner? Or silently swallow errors into success equals false that no one reads? Rotate a certificate on a custom connector in test. Does anything alert? Or do you discover it after finance emails you? Define the health model before the next incident defines it for you. For each user path, assign red, yellow, green. Submit path, time to first byte, 500 is green, 500, 150 is yellow, 150 is red. Error rate green, 1% yellow, 5% red above that. Approve path, same discipline. Report path, delegation count, page size, query shape, monitored. These aren't dashboards, they're contracts with reality. Instrument the app. Minimal, precise, a single telemetry UDF you'll write later. For now, add a log call at path start, on failure, on success, include correlation ID, user ID, path name, duration, outcome, no PI, just signals. You'll hate the noise. Good, noise means truth surfaced. Tune later. Don't optimize silence. Now examine identity, the fracture you ignored. Export the app permissions. Group-based, direct grants, owners who shouldn't be owners. List makers with environment maker versus basic user. Compare to who can promote solutions. Mismatch equals attack surface. Shadow logins, flows using your personal connection. Replace with connection references if you can't mark as read. Don't rationalize it. Data contracts. Say the quiet part out loud. For each patch, specify expected schema, field name, type, required, enum values, max lengths, then validate upstream. If your payload builder can't prove the shape, it fails before sending. Cheap failure, loud failure. If you accept polymorphic lookups, record the entity set. If you accept option sets, store the numeric value, not the label string you liked last sprint. You're building a forensic spine. Sources, state, transformations, sinks, permissions, health. Once it exists, ghosts lose power. They can still haunt. They just can't hide. Everything changes when you close the first loop. You run the schema rename rehearsal. A screen breaks. You see exactly where. You capture it. You fix the formula once. But seeing isn't fixing. You need discipline in the formula surface. Local scope, named intent, single exits. You already know the word. With, we'll use it as the guardrail. Then pull logic into components. Then bind the entire mess into solutions, branches, checks, and gates. Because without proof under stress, you're still guessing. And guesses fail in silence. The fix starts local. With as the guardrail. With is how you stop the bleed. Local scope, named intent, one entry, one exit, no globals, no drift. Here's the pattern. You take a tangled formula and you pull truth close. You name it. You compute it once. You reuse it downstream. Everything inside the block is sealed. Outside can't mutate it. That's the guardrail. Structure it like this. With is TX, user, var user, now. Input. This item, source, filter, issues, status in open, in progress, transformed, add columns, source, can edit, user. Email L, created by email pattern, approver, in var user, roles. Selection, lookup transformed, ID equals input. ID, payload, issue selection, ID, title, selection, title, state, if selection, can edit, in progress, open, modified on CTX. Now transcend, patch issues, lookup issues, ID is payload, issue and payload, and read it again. Input, transform, output, named steps, predictable shapes, no set, no collect, no shadow state. Compose formulas by intent, start the with plain English labels, input source, transformed payload. Your future self will thank you. Your reviewer will too. Memorize heavy calls inside the block. Office 365 users my profile v2, cache it once as CTX user. Don't call it on every row. You eliminate jitter, you eliminate throttling, you eliminate lies, eliminate duplication with one local truth per screen. That gallery items formula copied across 3 controls, centralize it, with patch data, filter issues, starts with title, text search, text. Once if count rows data, table. Now, every downstream reference uses data. You change the filter once, everything follows. No hash drift, no ghosts. Define shapes at the boundary. If a component expects a record with fields A, B, C, enforce that inside with before you call it. With buffer raw, lookup issues, ID il var selected id, model, all ID raw, ID, title, coalesce, raw, title, atten, state, if eyes blank raw, dot state, open raw, state, dot by comp details, bond input, ihren model. The model once, consume everywhere. That's a contract, that's control. Build a predictable patch payload. No loose records, no implicit coercion. Wizard form, edit form, issue, records, defaults, issues, model, untitled, trim form, updates, title, state, switch form, updates, state, value, open, open, in progress, and closed, closed, open, priority, value form, updates, dot priority. Owner, if eyes blank form, dot updates, dot owner, blank, or lookup users, email, equal form, updates, dot owner, email, mod user, what payload, patch rec model, or patch issues rec payload. Notice the type guards, option set labels normalized, numbers cast, lookups resolved. You remove the power effects, will figure it out gamble. It won't. With removes the guesswork, root errors without side effects, inside the with catch tag return. With OSGANCUP, if error patch issues, lookup issues, ID, X, var selected it, payload, okay, false, code, error kind message, error, message that. If op, okay, notify saved, notification type dot success, notify failed, and end op, message, notification type error. Better, never call notify directly from everywhere. Create an error channel. With attempt, if error patch issues, lookup issues, ID, eals, var selected id, payload, okay, false, code, error kind, MSG error, message. Result, if eyes blank attempt, okay, true, code, blank, MSG attempt, event, kind, if result, okay, success and failure, path, submit issue, code, result, code, MSG result, MSG filter, telemetry, event, if result. Okay, set var last saved, now, result, okay, and side effects become explicit. One place, one exit, your UI checks a boolean, your logs capture the truth, no hidden branches, no psychic debugging. Mem-wise expensive transforms, with push base, filter, items, status equaled active, enriched, add columns, base, owner name, lookup users ID L owner, edo full name, sort by columns, enriched, owner name. You compute once, you sort once, you render once, and your gallery doesn't recalc owner name on every hover. Performance is a symptom of structure, with gives you structure. Guard input at the door. With KQ, trim text search, text, normalized, lower Q, safe, if len, normalized, two blankos, normalized, or if eyes blank, safe, table, filter issues, starts with lower title, safe. No accidental full scans, no delegation roulette, a clear threshold you can test, 2 characters minimum, or whatever your SLO allows. One more truth, don't nest with for sport. 2 levels, maybe 3. Beyond that, extract to a user-defined function or a component. Keep the local guardrail simple, readable, composable. Now the micro story. A maker sent me a gallery that froze on scroll. They blamed Dataverse. It was their formula. 5 separate ad columns, each calling Office 365 users. I wrapped it in one with. Cached the profile once. Moved all transforms into a single enriched variable. Freeze gone, throttling gone, ghost gone. That's not magic, that's scope. Everything changes when the screen stabilizes. Because once a screen is predictable, you can extract it. Componentize the header, the list, the editor. Pass models, not globals. Then the same guardrail protects every app that consumes them. Local discipline first, then boundaries, then environments. We're close. Beyond the screen, components, UDFs, and enhanced component properties. Local truth stabilizes a screen. But you don't scale by copying screens. You scale by contracts. Components are contracts, inputs, outputs, no hidden state. If you need state, you pass it in, you receive it out. You never smuggle it through set. Here's the rule. A component is a black box with a spec. Inputs declare shape. Outputs declare events or models. No globals, no connector calls inside unless they're part of the component's declared surface. If the component needs data, you give it data. If it needs to fetch, you give it a provider. Now, enhanced component properties, this is where the contract grows teeth. You don't just pass primitive props. You pass logic, you expose formulas as configurable behavior. Think slots, think policies. Example, a list header component. It renders a title, a count, and a search box. Inputs, model, a title text, count number. On search, a formula that accepts text and returns a table theme. A record of tokens, not hard-coded colors. Outputs, search results, table events. On submitted, on cleared inside, it holds no secrets. The search box calls the on search prop. the result flows back out through search results. The component never touches globals. It never reads TX search from the host screen. It speaks only through its properties. That's a contract. Enhanced component properties let you define onSearch as a formula prop, which means the host can inject a with pattern search, normalize text, guard length, return a delegated query. The component just renders and relays. No drift, no blue dot lies. User-defined functions fill the gap between repetition and reuse. When you catch yourself writing the same transform across 3 screens, extract a UDF, local to the app, pure, no side effects. FN build issue model, record, returns a normalized shape, always. FN patch issue, target, model. Builds the exact payload, coerces types, returns result with OK code MSG. These functions are testable, replaceable. You can switch their internals without touching callers. That's how you cut drift. Use UDFs for model normalization, type coercion, and option set mapping, payload assembly, telemetry event creation, guard checks, img, FNI strong query. Do not use UDFs for hidden global mutation ad hoc network calls buried inside helpers. Keep them pure. Keep them boring. Boring survives production. Now the bridge, components plus UDFs. The host screen uses with to prepare models, calls UDFs to shape and validate, feeds components through ECP formulas for behavior. The component raises events. The host logs through a telemetry UDF, one path in, one path out, scope, contract, boundary. Enhanced component properties also unlock governance. You can ship a library component with required inputs typed by schema optional behavior slots with defaults feature flags enforced as booleans, not strings, theming via tokens, not hex values, and you can version it. Library v1.2 apps adopt when ready. Changelog states added on validate behavior slot, deprecated on save raw, breaking changes documented, rollout staged, one fix, many apps. You kill the copy-paste tree. Themable design is not aesthetics, it's control. A theme prop is a record of tokens, surface, text primary, accent, danger, spacing, radius. No hard-coded styles, no strings buried in fill. When brand changes, you swap theme once. Every component respects it. Consistency becomes automatic. Accessibility isn't an afterthought. High contrast maps to tokens instead of hand-editing colors in 47 places. Cross-app reuse demands discipline. No hidden connector calls in components that you can't mock, no owner-bound permissions inside a reusable part, no magic variable names you expect the host to provide. Everything required must be a prop. Everything emitted must be an output or event. If a component needs a user, it should take a user model prop. Not call Office 365 users, not once. Governance lives in the library. Semantic versioning, enforced PR checks for component diffs and ECP signatures, solution packaging with managed components, release notes embedded in the libraries about property, telemetry opt-in via a behavior prop so hosts can inject their logging UDF. This is how you move fast without breaking the same things twice. A microstory, a team had 5 apps, each with its own editor screen. Same fields, different bugs. We extracted an issue editor component. Inputs, issue model, onsave, formula returning result, theme, outputs, onsaved result, oncancelled. We moved all field mapping into FN build issue model and FN patch issue. We exposed onValidate as an ECP behavior. 1 week later, a schema change renamed priority to urgency. We updated the UDF mapping once, bumped the component to v1.1, pushed a managed solution. 5 apps fixed by adoption. No late night triage, no silent breakage in app 3 because someone missed a formula. Contract hope. You want speed, you get it by removing choices. Components define form and flow. ECPs define extension points. UDFs define truth. Then ALM carries it safely. But that's next. Structure holds. Therefore, you can move to real environments. A real ALM, solutions branches, and safe releases. Local discipline stabilizes a screen. Contracts stabilize an app, but you still deploy like it's a file share. That's how you lose. Solution first, not optional, mandatory. A solution is the boundary, the unit of promotion, the audit trail, tables, apps, flows, component libraries, connection references, environment variables. One bundle, one identity, unmanaged in dev, managed everywhere else. Because change without a boundary is just drift with a smile. Environments matter. Dev, test, prod, 3 names, 3 different privileges. Dev, makers build, break, iterate, wild but contained. Test, limited makers, test data, service principles, no personal connections where you prove reality. Prod, no making, only promoting. Minimal rights. If you edit in prod, you break the contract. Whisper it, branches aren't ceremony, they're containment. Keep main locked, protected. Feature branches per change. Named by intent, not by whim. Feed, issue editor ECP, fix delegation query, chore, telemetry, UDF. Open a PR. Always, you don't merge alone, you don't ship alone, because a second set of eyes catches the fracture you normalized. Code reviews for PowerFX? Yes, export the app, diff the MS API text, or use source-aligned tooling. You review.component signatures, props added or removed. UDF contracts, parameters, return shapes, purity maintained, formula drift. Same intent, different implementation. Explain it or kill it. Delegation flags. Blue dots are lies, prove delegation or gate the query. Connection references. Stop binding flows and connectors to your identity. Create references in the solution. Bind them per environment. Service principles for Dataverse, SharePoint, Outlook. Least privilege, rotated secrets, documented owners. If a reviewer sees a personal connection in a PR, reject. No exceptions. Environment variables. No hard-coded URLs. No table names stitched into formulas. Store-based endpoints, tenant-specific IDs, feature flags, and reporting sync identifiers in env vars, in dev point at mocks, in test point at test services, in prod point at prod. Without code change, feature flags let you ship dark, turn on paths gradually, kill switches ready, automated checks aren't optional. Solution checker, fail the PR on critical issues. Performance lint, scan for non-delegable patterns in items of galleries and data calls. Flag starts with over large sets without index. Flag add columns in loops. Accessibility lint, contrast against theme tokens. Focus visuals present. Tab order sane. Security lint, personal connections banned. Set usage in components banned. Globals in UDFs banned. If it fails, it doesn't merge. You don't argue with the gate. You fix it. Pipelines carry trust. Dev to test to prod with approvals. On import to test. Apply environment variables. Bind connection references. Run post-import smoke tests. Open app. Run synthetic. Submit. Approve. Report. Publish telemetry check. Do events land? Are correlation IDs present? If any step fails, stop. Rollback automatically. No heroics version everything. Semantic 1.3 adds a feature. 1.3.1 fixes a bug. 2 breaks a contract. Managed solutions in test and prod. Always. Hotfix channel. Branch from the tagged release. Fix scoped bump patch version. Promote through the same gates. No quick fix in prod. That's how ghosts come back. Rollback isn't a prayer. It's a plan. You keep the previous managed solution. You can uninstall the bad one and reapply the last good. Or layer a hotfix solution to revert a component or UDF quickly. Data migrations versioned idempotent reversible where possible. If you can't reverse, you stop calling it a migration. You call it risk. Approvals with context. Sign-offs mean something when you attach proof. Include test evidence, green, yellow, red against SLOs for submit, approve, report, delegation audit, queries and expected row counts, security diff, permission changes between environments, telemetry, snapshot, baseline performance versus current. Without this, an approval is theater. You want safe releases. You get them by refusing ambiguity, solutions, environments, branches, PRs, references, variables, checks, pipelines, versions, rollback. Not exciting, effective. Now prove it under stress. Proving resilience. Tests, monitoring and controlled chaos. Tests first. Unit-like UDF assertions, component harness screens, synthetic end-to-end runs, telemetry everywhere, correlation AD, duration, outcome, define SLOs, gate releases, drill chaos, throttle, expire tokens, rename fields, rotate certs, alert on failure, not feelings, green paths, stay green under stress, or you halt. The refactor plan, step-by-step to neutralize chaos. Inventory apps, screens, variables, connectors, prioritize by impact and delegation risk. Refactor screen by screen with width, extract components, UDFs, adopt theme tokens. Standardize libraries, move into solutions, bind connection references, env vars, add checks, tests, pipelines, rollback, lock governance, naming, reviews, telemetry dashboards, repeat, expand, enforce, governance template, rules that make failure rare. You want prevention, not heroics. So we write the rules. We make failure rare by making ambiguity illegal. Naming and contracts first. Controls, screen, issue list, .gallery, main, not gallery 1. Variables, scn.issuelist.selection, app, theme, cmp.editor.model, prefix by scope, app, scn, cmp, fn, components, cmp.issueEditor, v1.2, inputs and outputs typed in the about. No hidden props, no magic set. Functions, fn build issue model, rec, fn patch issue target model, pure, always return a record with OK, code, MSG, allowed patterns, with for local scope. Mandatory on any formula longer than 2 lines. UDFs for repeated transforms and payloads. Pure, no connectors. Enhanced component properties for behavior slots. On validate, on search, on save, typed, documented, theming via tokens. Theme passed as a record. No hex and fill. No strings in color. Delegation aware queries only in gallery items and data calls. Starts with on indexed columns. Filter with equality. Search only on bounded sets. Prohibited patterns. Global side effects in components. Set inside a component is a defect. Copy-paste formulas across screens, one source of truth or you delete it. Orphaned collections, no collect on app, on start without refresh on owner. Cache through explicit loaders with expiry. Personal connections, any reference to your identity blocks the PR. Hidden state, update context that toggles both UI and permission logic. Split concerns or reject. Review workflow. Every change goes through a PR. No emergency merges. Checklist in the PR description. Component signature. Diff reviewed. UDF. Purity verified. Delegation flags checked. Row count expectations noted. Accessibility checked against tokens. Security. Connection references only. Least privilege roles. Telemetry calls present on submit, approve, report with correlation. It attach screenshots of solution checker paths. Attach test evidence for green paths. If anything's yellow, justify or block. Environment policy. Who builds where is explicit. Dev. Makers free to experiment. Unmanaged solutions only. Test. Promotion by pipeline. Managed only. Service principles bound. Test data seeded by script. No personal connectors. Prod, promote only, no edits, audit trail required. If you must hotfix, it's a managed patch via pipeline with rollback ready. Owners of environments listed, rotations scheduled, access reviewed monthly. Monitoring policy, dashboards are required, not optional. Metrics, path duration, P95 for submit, approve, report. Error rate by path and code delegation, incidents detected versus resolved. Synthetic checks, success, failure trend. Alerts, red path fires page, yellow logs ticket, green stays silent. Connector 429 spikes trigger investigation. Duplicate submission detector flags potential double writes. Incident response steps correlation id retrieved. Blast radius assessed via dependency graph. Rollback path validated or executed. Post incident report includes root cause, rule violated, rule updated. This is the template. Short, sharp. You don't memorize it, you enforce it, because structure without governance decays. So you lock it in. The single takeaway and the CTA. Our app fails where you allow ambiguity. Scope it with width. Encapsulate it in components, bind it with solutions, and prove it under stress. If this helped, subscribe and grab the refactor plan and governance template in the next episode. Audit one app today, kill one hidden dependency, then tell me what broke and what you fixed.